So my show starts at 10:30. Oh, we live? Oh, it's
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rodney.
I'm Candace. Good morning.
And we are cohort
1986.
Today, we have a special guest, Miss Vashti Hurt, the founder, editor-in-chief of the Carolina Bliz.
Whoop, whoop.
Look, I'm going to just get started.
Okay.
Vashti, look, I'm a co-host of another podcast called Under Construction. She was the first person in media that ever gave us any love. And she's kind of been like a mentor to us. She actually hosts a show on ESPN 730 called the Carolina Bliz Show, and it's a podcast as well. She has the Quick Blitz podcast with Sheena Quick.
Yeah.
She's an all-around Renaissance woman, credentialed media member with the Panthers, the Wolfpack, the Tar Heels, and the Blue Devils. Gosh. Y'all, please give it up for Vashti Hurt.
Hey guys, I'm excited for having me.
No problem.
Yeah, and Vashti, I've heard so much about you. I've heard about your ESPN 730 show. I definitely listened to the episode that had Rodney on there, of course. And I've also heard some of the interviews that you've done with Under Construction as well. So I'm really looking forward to just kind of getting your views today about, being, in sports journalism, being a female, and also being a Black woman in this space. So I'm really looking forward to today. So definitely want to turn it over to you so that you can kind of, give a formal introduction of yourself.
Well, I'm Vashti Hurt. I am founder and editor-in-chief of Carolina Bliz. It's kind of a website where we're kind of also evolving it into a brand where we cover Carolina sports. And my main focus is to have a different voice, a voice that wasn't there before. I actually started it because I didn't like what I saw in sports media. And I just felt that we were underrepresented. So as Black people. So my goal is to alleviate that. So my staff is entirely Black.
Nice.
A Black woman who works with me, and I would like to bring on more Black women. So yeah, that's my goal. That's my I don't know, calling, I guess.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we all find these little passions in life. Sometimes they are the things that, really, kind of, where we find that there is a missing link, or, sometimes it comes from a place of, well, you know what, this didn't work out for me, so I'm going to go help someone else. So, I think it's absolutely amazing. Awesome what you're doing right now, and, how you're going to help people with the brand that you're building, what you're already doing. You're doing so much right now, with the media, being credentialed, being in these different spaces that are, primarily male dominated. So, I'm just interested.
Male dominated.
Correct. Correction. Cool.
So, Vashti, we just want to get started. So, what is your background? Where did you grow up, and where were you born?
I'm from Columbia. Well, okay. Let me build up to this, because every time I say I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, everybody's like, "Oh, you don't give me that vibe." So I was born in New York City. And lived there for probably about 9 years. And then we moved to Key West, Florida. My parents opened a business in Key West, Florida. And I didn't stay there that long. And then I spent the majority of my childhood, I guess, or at least half of it, in Columbia, South Carolina. So I went to Irmo High School, shout out Yellow Jackets. And after I graduated from high school, I went to UNC Charlotte. And so that's what brought me to Charlotte. And I've been here ever since.
Okay.
So Charlotte's your adopted hometown now.
It is. Like I was talking to my mom the other day. It's crazy because she was like, "You pretty much been in Charlotte longer than you were any place else." So yeah, when people ask me where I'm from, I say Charlotte, and then they ask, "Are you born and raised?" It's always a question about if you were born and raised. No.
Yeah. That's usually me, because I'm always like, "Oh, you're from Charlotte? Like, what part of Charlotte? Like, were you born in Charlotte, or did you move to Charlotte? How long have you been in Charlotte?" I think it's just like one of those things when people say they're from Charlotte, it's like, "Oh, another unicorn." So I get it.
So Vashti, so growing up, like, what did you want to be, and what sparked your passion for sports?
I actually growing up wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Oh, I can see that. I really can.
Yeah. I'll probably miss my calling on that one too. But growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I don't know. How I got into sports is kind of really organic.
Okay.
Because prior to being in, I'm sorry, I got a lot of stuff going on. Prior to being in sports journalism, I was in banking. And so I was a stockbroker, financial advisor, and I had a friend of mine, Stephanie Glover. I always shout her out when I can, because she was a trader also. We were kind of like the two only Black women really like Series 7 stockbrokers in Charlotte.
Oh, wow.
And kind of our paths kind of followed each other. We became friends, and she was really ahead of her time. She started a website or a blog called Meet the Fresh, and it's no longer in existence, but I would always post about sports on Facebook at the time, and it just would be my thing. Or I would be reading articles about sports, and she was like, well, we're going to start this blog. Will you write like a weekly thing? And I never thought about, writing about sports. I always read about it, and I always would post about it. And so I wrote it, and it that's the infancy of what has grown now, because I was like, I'll do it, but I don't think anybody is going to read it. And people started reading it, and I actually enjoyed writing it. So I would be on the trading floor, between trades, and I'm writing articles. And so that's kind of how it started. And, it's evolved from there, but it just really started with a friend asking me to write for her new blog. And
wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I have another question for you. So, did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah, I played basketball in high school. You do intramurals in college, but it's really not the same.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not the same.
It would have been the same for me, because I am like unathletic.
Really?
Whatsoever. Girl, yeah, you can ask any of my cousins. Like when it was time to play like sports or whatever, like in the yard, they were like, okay, I don't want Candace on my team because I know she's going to go in the house.
Well, I was the exact opposite. I was very much so a tomboy growing up. Always wanted to compete with the guys. Always wanted to beat the guys. Rough and tough. My mom was worried. When I was growing up, she would have me wear knee pads and stuff because she was concerned that I would stuff up my knees and my knees would be ugly.
Oh my
God. But yeah, I played basketball, ran track in high school.
Wow.
I even played like powder puff football, which was interesting.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
But it was only, it was like a fun game where the football players. But I remember in one game, I was a basketball player. So I didn't really know the rules of football at the time. I was tight in, and I had the ball, and I had a wide open touchdown, and it was right before halftime, and I stopped when the buzzer sounded, and everybody keep going, and I'm like, the buzzer sounded like it's halftime, it's done. And I didn't know that in football the play continues even after the buzzer sounds if it was in process before. So
Vashti,
that would have been me.
So Vashti, we have a comment. Jay said him and Jamal taught you about sports. Is that true?
Who is Jay?
Jay said Jay knows you. He said him and Jamal taught you about sports.
I don't know about that. Hey.
Look, it's making sense. You stopped when the buzzer sounded.
Oh well, yeah. I don't. No. First of all, no. Yeah, I don't know who Jay is. Jay, what's your full name?
Sound like a troll. I'm just joking.
So Vashti, I do. Look, I did a little bit of digging.
Okay. Oh goodness.
And so I saw that your mother was a journalist. If I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So did that kind of help spark your love for sports journalism?
I never really, it's crazy because we'll talk about this, how I ended up following in her footsteps of journalism. Like growing up, that's never what I wanted to be. Right. And by the time I was born, she was out of that field. So it's just crazy how I kind of followed in her footsteps into journalism, because I didn't grow up seeing her be a journalist. I knew that she was a journalist. I knew that, and we'll laugh about this, I knew that when I wrote papers and edited them, the editing process was a beast. Like, to the point where I didn't want her to edit my papers because she would
the red mark
right
and, like, edit. I probably had the best elementary school papers out of anybody. She used to be a stickler about things. But yeah, it's crazy how I kind of followed in her footsteps. But no, it was never anything that I thought about doing growing up.
So what did you take up in college? I
was actually a psychology major.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to be a sports psychologist, but the schooling extended was not something that I really wanted to do. So I kind of
we all have that
couple more years. So how did you so after college, did you start off as a stockbroker, or how did you get into that from psychology to stockbrokerage?
Well, so actually, banking here in Charlotte, if you need a job, you go where the work is.
Yeah.
So I got a job at Wachovia at the time. In their online banking department. And it was nothing that I expected to stay long term, but it was a job that paid the bills,
Right.
21, self-sufficient, doing my thing. So I ended up in that, and I never expected to be in, how you have a role, you take a role to get your foot in the door. You never expected to be a long-term thing. And so I saw they had I will always look at the job openings, and they had a job opening for a financial advisor in training. And I was like, this sounds interesting. Why not? So I applied and I got the job, and it was crazy because, this young Black girl applying to do this, no history in, business as far as that kind of stuff. No background in any of that. And they hired me, I guess, I think partially because I was young and Black. It was kind of an experiment. And really, I don't think they expected me to pass the Series 7 because it's a really tough test. And with my limited banking experience, I didn't go to school for, business or anything.
Right.
They didn't expect me to pass. And when I passed, it was like, okay, so what are we going to do with you now?
Trust me, I know that feeling.
So my experience in that industry never really was that good. It kind of started off as, we just hired maybe to fill a quota, but we didn't expect you to be,
it's good.
Intelligent enough to pass that first step. And when I passed it, they were like, they didn't know what to do. So it was just, it wasn't a good experience, but that's kind of how I got into banking. But I stayed in it for about 7-8 years. I worked. And then I kind of eventually, you'll be moved out of something, even if you might fight it, which I did, because there's a level of security that comes with doing what I did financially. But you ask for certain things. I knew that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
So I asked to be guided out, and then, I actually got laid off because they were saying they transitioned. This was at a whole different company. I've been at them all. And they were like, oh, you guys are making too much money. We're going to hire non-licensed people to do what you're doing. And
wow.
So they laid us off, and I was like, okay, this is my time. Like, I'm not going back into it. And I haven't. And, I ain't going to lie, because your Series 7, it lapses after 2. You can have it and not be housed at a firm for 2 years. But after that 2 years, you lose it.
Wow.
I had that date circled on my calendar. I was like, man, it's coming up. But once that 2 years passed, it's like, okay, well, we in it to win it now. So it's no turning back.
So you mentioned your friend Stephanie having the blog.
I got a Stephanie too.
Stephanie too. You mentioned your friend Stephanie kind of encouraging you to write for her blog. So what made you start Carolina Bliz, and what was that process for you?
So I wrote for her for a little while. And then I actually wrote for Black Sports Online, which was another interesting experience because I worked very hard for that company and never got a dime for it, which is something I would never do to others. But so I started working for Black Sports Online, and I give Rob credit because he taught me a lot about the business, and he was a Black owner in media. I didn't always agree with how he handled things, but getting that start really kind of put in my mind, like, I didn't necessarily need others to help me get to where I wanted to go in this business. So I wrote for a while with Black Sports Online, and then I didn't see any growth. So I start, you go to NABJ and you apply to all of these places and you want to take a chance on somebody who may not have the traditional background, but who has put in work and who has a desire to be in sports business. And so nobody hired me. And so I'm like, golly, well, I felt like I had something to offer. And I'm like, you get to the point where I'm not going to beg these people to see the value that I see in myself.
Right.
So I was like, well, what do I want to do? So I'm applying like crazy. Really, nothing's popping off. A couple of interviews, but nothing is really popping off.
Yeah.
Cam Newton, I was hating the coverage that he was getting from specifically David Newton. So I was like, oh my gosh. But I didn't like, period, because I didn't even like how they handled Cam. I didn't like how when he came into, everybody was like, and if you've been following the Panthers, like when Cam Newton was drafted, people really wanted Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck decided to stay an extra year. And then everybody treated it like, oh gosh, now we got to have Cam. And it was like, I don't like how y'all treating him. Then the season, he would put the towel over his head. He was getting used to being a professional and losing. And there was no leeway given to him. I just did not like culturally, I also thought that there were some differences that weren't being addressed in media. I just felt like we weren't represented. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own. And, it took a while for me to get credentials with the Panthers, but I still wrote, how I felt about things. That didn't stop me from writing about this team and writing my opinions about things. And so that's what I did. And so it's kind of evolved from there. But that's kind of how it started. One, I got tired of, I wanted the value in myself. And two, I just did not like the way we were represented in sports.
Right.
And I do have a question. So, you bring up a really good point about culturally, right? And some of the cultural differences. And so, in your writing style, do you tend to speak more to the culture and, some of those differences that may be present? Or do you kind of keep it, plain Jane or...
I write what I feel. So however I'm feeling at the moment, that's what we go with. And I encourage my writers to do the same thing. I don't shy away from political topics or shining a light on sports activism or even sports first. Like this week was the first week that they're going to have an all-Black umpire.
Wow.
In the ACC. So, those type of stories, I feel like it's important to highlight, and I do.
Good.
And so, but yeah, it's just, if I feel like that's what is good about being your own boss, because I don't have to ask permission to do anything. So if I want to write about whatever, then I'm going to write about whatever. And I kind of got, when the Cam Newton talking about women running routes and all of that stuff with Jordan Rodriguez, I kind of took on everybody and I didn't care. And so when they saw me in the media room, once I started getting, they were looking at me like, what in the world? Like, who let her in here? Like, yes. And I'm like, hello.
Hey.
I told y'all I was coming and I'm here, you know. So so yeah, you know, I write what I feel, and I think that that's important. And if I see something that I feel like is not fair, then I'm going to address it. And that's why I wanted to have my own platform, because I didn't want to have to go through traditional channels. I didn't want to have to sell what I feel like would be important to our community to white editors. I just don't, that's not what I want to do. And I want people who write for me to write about what they feel is important as well.
So Vashti, I just want a quick sidebar. Did you see the recent Cam Newton interview with Ocho Cinco and Brandon Marshall?
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I've seen pieces of it.
Man, it's just like his comfort level with those guys was just like something that we never ever seen before in Charlotte, and
of course.
That to me states that we need more people of color within those interview rooms, because I hate to say this, but those white reporters will never get that openness with Cam because they can't relate.
But understand that that's also football. We're also competing though.
Oh yeah.
So if you have a Black reporter who obviously relates differently to players, and they see that, they see it. Like when locker rooms are open, they see how the guys interact differently with us. It's very obvious because we relate to them on a different level. And so we threaten the status quo or the norm. We threaten their job, because if I have a player who opens up to me in a way that they won't open up to you, then now I'm the person, I'm threatening your position. And so they don't like that. And so there will always be this is a good old boy network. They don't want us taking their spot. This is a story of America really as a whole. But so yeah, they will do what they need to do, self-preservation. Yeah. So you never are going to see a whole more people of color in that space, because then they know that the players are going to gravitate more toward them. Or unless you have a Jason Whitlock in there, and you all know how that goes.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, get away from me.
Honestly, there are players who do not, and they talk. And this might be T, and I see Jay. I guess Jay is Jamal.
That's Jamal. Okay. I figured it out.
Knows good and well he didn't teach me anything about sports. So he said David Newton sucks, and this is not just a fan thing. Like, players do not like him like that.
Yeah.
But I know a writer, and he said he asked the player, he was new to the beat. He was like, what do I need to do, to start gaining the trust of the other players? And he was like, don't be like that guy that nobody likes.
But that's a true statement.
This is what it is. And so, but David Newton has a job. David Newton also has 40,000 followers, and Carolina Bliz has 6,000 and some. So somebody's looking at his stuff.
Yeah,
somebody's looking at his stuff. So I got a question for you. So what is the actual process of getting credentialed? And could you kind of describe that feeling that you had once you were credentialed by the ACC and the Panthers? Like, I know it was excitement.
Yeah, well, it kind of just happened. So I had been covering games, and I don't know. I think that somebody, honestly, you never know who's looking at your stuff, because there's so many people who are working in these offices, and everybody looks at what's going on. They know who's driving conversation. They know what's going on social media. Yeah. And so I had been covering ACC stuff a couple of times through Black Sports Online, like the NCAA tournament I would always cover. And stuff like that. Plus, I was writing on my own even before I was credentialed. So I feel like people knew who I was before I applied. And so I had covered a couple of ACC tournaments under Black Sports Online, and I'd covered NCAA tournaments under Black Sports Online. And so I don't know if they knew who I was, but it really wasn't any introduction. I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply as Carolina Bliz. And when the ACC approved me, I was like, well, you're right. It was a big moment, because the ACC tournament is a big deal
Yeah.
in North Carolina. So that's kind of, it was just, I applied on a whim and I got approved. As far as the different schools, it's a tougher process. Like they have to see you. They look at your content. They see if you're legit. You have to show up. They listen to your questions. Like I know I'm scrutinized way more than my peers. And that's just, it is what it is. And that's what you learn to live with. But you have to be legit. You have to be serious about your craft. And so I started, I think, with football, and I don't know. I really don't know how it works, honestly, Rodney, because I had been rejected a couple of times, but I don't accept no as an answer. No is like, okay, maybe not right now.
Right.
I'm gonna get on your nerves. Like that's basically how I got the Panthers. I got on their nerves. But with college basketball, it was like, okay, can I come and do a couple of games nobody really wanted to see? And then it was, okay, well, then I'm going to keep coming. And then it was like, well, you keep applying, you know, we hear your questions, we see your content. Like I've had schools use my content for their sites before.
Oh, wow.
So we see your stuff, you know, I've had stuff go viral. I've had stuff on ESPN and USA. All of those major places have used my content before, and they see that. And so I remember my first credential season with Duke was the Zion Williamson season. And I never expected that, but it just kind of was what it was. And they let me in. And so once you get in, you're pretty much in. If you do something to mess it up, then that's on you. Gotcha. And then UNC is kind of the same way. UNC does not play about their credentials, and they're very serious. And then the Panthers, I kind of like got on their nerves. I found the person to email, and I was sending the email. I don't know if it was every day, but it was very frequently. And I didn't email like I emailed the top dog, so I knew he was like, "Golly,
she's serious. He wanted it."
And he didn't reach out to me. He had somebody else reach out to me. The guy who he was like, "Man, please reach out to this girl." Like, and not only that, I had somebody else reach out on my behalf. Like, this is a Black woman in the community. She's trying to do this and this and this. And so it was a community effort. And then it was Panthers. It was, okay, well, let's see how you move, because the NFL, I'm a Black woman, you know, I'm not a spring chicken, but I'm young enough to still, hit the thing. So, we'll come in and just do open locker room. So I did open locker room for like a year, y'all. It was just like, and then it was, okay, you can kind of start going to games. And then it was, okay, we're going to add you to the email list. So it's a process and it's a long process, but you got to stick with it, and you cannot accept no. You just sometimes you got to get on people's nerves or go over people's heads, just like in corporate America.
Yeah, real life.
Yeah. But one thing you said that just really stood out to me is that you were working when no one else was. You were doing this when no one else was looking. And I think that's a very
You're on mute. Okay.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, I was just saying that people see, Vashti is credentialed media. Vashti has her own show. Vashti does this. But what people don't realize is that, Vashti was working when nobody else was looking.
That's right.
And the fact that, you had someone to come in those rooms and say, you know what, we need to give Vashti a shot. We're going to use her article. So my point is that, it's very important to still be persistent and still do your best, even if you're not in that, you're not in that space yet.
Right.
So, I mean, I just think it's awesome, and so it's the locker room, like the first place that you start when you start doing like the working with the players, or, where do you first start at?
I don't know. I think every organization does it differently.
Okay.
I was very nervous going into the locker room because I had never really, even with basketball, it's kind of something that I felt like I had to build up to, because I was worried about making other people uncomfortable.
Gotcha.
So I was kind of like, they're used to white men, older white men, maybe an older white woman, but they may not be used to a younger Black girl who's around a woman who's around their same age range, you know, I was worried about me being uncomfortable and me making them uncomfortable.
Right.
And college players as well. So I would go to like general press conferences, but I would never go into the locker room. And that kind of changed. And then you learn that, you know, I don't care if they feel uncomfortable, but they don't feel uncomfortable. Like this is
right.
All professionals, and that's how it is. And so I think for with the Panthers, they'd seen my work already. What I was doing. They used that, okay, let's see you during open media, where they allow media outlets to come in and speak to players and go to interviews to see how I handled myself. And so I think that everybody does things differently. Some people may want to, some outlets look more at your content, and others may want to see your content and your demeanor. They both matter, but you know, I think it really just depends on who's credentialing and what their process is.
And I think that's a pretty interesting point that you brought up about, you know, you possibly feeling uncomfortable and you making them uncomfortable. And, you know, as, you know, people are transitioning, you know, is that something that they should kind of think about? You know, how they make others feel when they go into those rooms.
I wish I was more fearless at the beginning. Honestly, I would tell people I admire, and I think naturally when you're the minority in something, automatically are tentative at times.
Right.
And that's honestly how they want it. They don't want you coming in like gangbusters, like, yeah, I'm here. Hey, that's intimidating to them.
Right.
Like, who is this and who does she think she is? I wish I had that attitude, because I may, even though I've gotten far, I may be even further along if off rip I was like, yo, I'm here, I belong here, and I'm not going anywhere. Now I have that attitude now, but at the beginning, I didn't have that. It was like, I'm happy to be here. I'm just so happy y'all have me.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude that you take. But I would encourage people. Now, I'm not saying to be, you know, extra.
Right.
Don't do that. But be confident that you belong. Be confident that you belong and move accordingly.
Gotcha. So Vashti, like, what would be some of like the top skills that you think are needed for the sports journalism industry?
You have to be a good listener. You have to ask good questions. Writing. Some people don't want to write, but being able to write helps.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Like, and it's still, even though sports journalism is evolving, you have podcasts and you have personalities. If you look at those people, they started off as journalists. And so having the ability to write and writing is important, because when people go to your site, they may not listen to your podcast that's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
They'll go and see what you wrote about.
Right.
And it's still a level of respect that's given to writing that's not necessarily given to especially podcasts and other stuff. So I would encourage people like to write, even if you write maybe once a month, add that to your repertoire, because people want to know that you can be able to do that.
So is that something that people should like maybe put on their resumes or LinkedIn, just kind of articles that they've written? I
don't think it'll hurt. I mean, just like, you know, this is a football analogy, but look at Jeremy, right? Jeremy Chin for the Panthers, like he does it all, and that makes him valuable. So if my safety goes out, I know, okay, I got Jeremy can play safety. I mean, he can also he can play linebacker. Like people, there's value in that. There's value in that versatility, and so I would, you know, if you have a digital resume, I would put all of that on there.
Nice.
They may not want you as a podcaster, but they may like your article, and then you develop a podcast for them. You never know how things are going to move. But especially as Black people in this industry, we have to, just like we always have to work twice as hard and do twice more than our white counterparts. And you know, oftentimes, unfortunately, they don't think that we are good writers, when in fact we are. And so I think it's always important to add that because, there's a level of respect that comes with that.
Vash, I got a crazy question. You might look at me strange.
Oh God.
Does your mom still check your writing?
What? Absolutely. What are you talking about? He is like the editor-in-chief. She called me today and was like, "You need to put a comma here." She's like, "I don't understand this. You need to restructure this sentence because I'll edit my writer's writing." She was, "Yes, I want her to now. It's different now." And you're in high school. I mean, when you're in elementary, middle school, high school, you're like, "Oh,
my mama did the same thing."
Yeah. Now I'll be like, if I have an article that I'm a commentary article, my quick articles, I don't have her look at, but she does look at them. But I have something that I might put out that I think is going to get a lot of eyes on it. I definitely have her look at it in advance.
Yeah,
now, she doesn't have to do as many corrections now. But yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question, in your writing, like we talked about, we have a lot of people out here doing podcasts. We have a lot of people out here writing and so forth. What is one way that people can keep people engaged, in their writing? Is it kind of writing on whatever the top stories are, or is it kind of like, you find your lane and you kind of stay in your lane, or, what advice would you give to people about keeping people engaged?
First of all, that's a good question. And people have paid a lot of money to figure that out. So, with Carolina Bliz, honestly, I never know what's going to pop. I'm not even going to lie, because it may be the most minuscule article, the most minuscule video, and it jumps. And I was like, really? I just really wrote a really good commentary piece that I spent some time on.
Right.
And y'all didn't even pay any attention to this. But I write a 2-second post, and now y'all, that wants to pop off. You never really know. I just always suggest people to be authentic to themselves.
Good.
And then people gravitate to authenticity.
Oh, yeah.
Naturally. So if you're trying to do something that you don't like, then people will pick up on it. If you're forcing something, then people will pick up on it. I put stuff on Carolina Bliz that interests me.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And I know that I'm a different demographic. And so but ESPN caters to middle-aged white men. Right? And then now they're trying, because they cater to middle-aged white men so long, they're trying to change their programming, and also people who are on their programming in order to, because we don't watch ESPN like we used to. I remember I personally used to watch ESPN all the time. I don't turn it on unless there's a game now. I don't really watch their programming. So they're now making an effort to get younger faces, more people, more Black people,
rebranding
their programming, because they don't have that millennial audience that they now need. They're concerned that that old white man audience eventually will die off. And you now made your whole programming structure around that group, and they know, and the people who the advertisers want to reach out to, they're not anymore. So, me personally, I'm authentic to myself. I started Carolina Bliz because I wanted to write what I wanted to write. And so I put that stuff out there, and you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because you have so many things that are tugging you. Like, you have life that happens.
Yeah.
You may have another side gig that you have going on. You have different teams. Like I cover 5-6 teams. I used to cover them by myself. So you will always be tugged in different directions. Yeah. But you just have to be as consistent as possible. These what do they call them? Not rubrics, but these with social media now, how they prioritize content.
Oh, the algorithm.
Yeah. Based on how much you post. It really is. I've been posting on YouTube for years. And my followers never really went up. This year I've been straight posting, like every time I have a press conference, I post it on YouTube, completely unedited, nothing else. And I just reached, stayed probably at 200. I've probably gotten about 800 followers within the last few months, and I've been able to monetize YouTube, which is like growth because I don't do much with the page. I just upload stuff. I'm not on here churning out content. I got to do all. No, I'm literally posting on a consistent basis, and that's how the algorithms are set up for you to gain followers. And so you gotta be consistent, and you gotta be true to yourself.
I mean, that's great advice, because I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is, they do it for a couple weeks or a couple months, and it's like, oh, well, this ain't working, so I'm going to drop it, instead of, putting in that time, putting in that work to do it. So another question for you, I know you've been doing Carolina Blitz for a while, and you've built a pretty large network at this point. So how could one who's entering or thinking about transitioning into this world, how could they go about building their network?
I don't think usually social media is basically a good way to start. And it's a free way to start. So I always, like, if I speak to students or stuff, like you literally have a free outlet to really just get your voice out there. Period. Like, it really is. Tweet about sports. People will follow you. Like, people who want to hear your opinion. Like, Panthers Twitter is a real thing. And people are like, I know you laughing, Rodney, but guess what?
I know, yeah.
People are going to start trying to market specifically to Panthers Twitter. Like, people want to be able to and advertisers want to be able to connect with people in a way that is untraditional right now. And so be consistent on your social media. Even on Instagram is big time now. Like, people, I'm still trying to figure out. Instagram is so weird because
Instagram Reels.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I might start the Reels. But you can start there. And then people are out here, like, outlets are out here literally hiring because content is king. And so even if you don't think that you're qualified to do it, it doesn't hurt to reach out and say, but they're looking for writers. People might not necessarily be looking for content creators, because that's a catch-all. And you have companies that are specifically developing podcasts, but I'm seeing them more so now go after like former players and stuff because of the popularity of I Am Athletes that we were talking about. Yeah. But those players don't want to write.
No.
Right?
They'll probably do a video.
Writing still drives the conversation. It really does. There's a lot of power in the pen, and I want people to remember that. But even if that may not be your thing, if you want to post a video on social media, 30-second video talking about sports, that is the easiest way to just like start. And then I feel like some people kind of get hung up on the minutia. Oh, I want this and I want that. Just do it. Like,
thank you.
I mean, just do it, because I mean, if one person listens to it, I cannot stress this enough. You never know what's gonna pop. You never know. It only takes you see people who go viral over the stupidest things and their follower count jump. I'll watch it. I do it. I said, when something starts going viral, I immediately go to their social media. I say, how many followers do they have? Your following could jump from 0 to 100,000 in the matter of 2 days because something popped off. You never know what's going to pop off. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. I'm waiting on something to pop off for me, but it's going to happen.
This will pop off, and this will go viral.
This part.
It's going to happen. So, yeah.
So, what are some of your future plans for the Carolina Blitz within the next 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself going?
I don't know, but I do know. I would like to, I really want Carolina Blitz to kind of compete with the Charlotte Observers, the Newton Observers. Like, I want it to be a legitimate competitive outlet when it comes to sports.
Nice.
Information and sports content.
Yes.
And then eventually I would love to start Virginia Blitz, a Georgia Blitz,
Okay.
Cali Blitz.
Yes.
So in order, and when I started this, I started it with that in mind,
Nice.
just being able to grow in that way. So yeah, that's the goal. But in 5 years, I would like for people to say, go to the Observer, possibly, even though, but no, I'm going to Carolina.
That's right.
Not what I'm interested in. So,
Gotcha.
Cool.
So look, I'm gonna throw this on you. Blitz or block? You ready?
You're breaking up.
Blitz or block? You ready?
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson in Carolina. You blitzing or you blocking?
I'm blitzing. What? Duh.
So
go ahead.
Would you give up Christian McCaffrey 3 number ones? Shut the peace sign.
Don't leave Vashti.
I mean, look, man, look. I look. Me personally, I believe you shouldn't have to pay a running back all that money because they don't really, in all honesty, they don't make a difference. But I've been getting so much pushback on. Look, CMC is like, he's like the dream guy that everybody wants, and I'm like, you realize how good Deshaun Watson is?
They can have him. They can have him. I would give up Christian McCaffrey in a second. Bye. It was nice knowing you and nice having you here, but I would much rather have Deshaun Watson. The value in it, there's not even, it's not even comparable, the value in either, the value between positions, running back, quarterback. Like, and people don't want to hear this, but the Panthers don't win with Christian McCaffrey.
They don't
doing everything.
They don't
win with Christian McCaffrey doing everything. Yeah, I know you don't want to hear it. People don't want to hear it. They're like, oh, da 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 da. No, the Panthers don't win with Christian McCaffrey doing everything. Period. Let him do everything with somewhere else. I would definitely give up. I would give up 3 firsts and Christian McCaffrey for Deshaun. I wouldn't even think twice about that. I wouldn't even think twice about that.
Me neither. One more. I got one more for you. Blitz or block. If the Panthers have one more losing season, the Hornets going to take over as far as popularity in the city.
Are the Hornets winning though?
They're 8 seed. Look.
I'm saying, are they winning though?
Not yet. Not quite yet. LaMelo. I mean, that LaMelo effect.
In this scenario, I know they're what, like now they're 15 and 17.
Yeah,
and
so
they were. I don't know how that loss to Golden State changed things. Are they still 8th?
I think they're like 9th now, which is the play-in game.
It's so jumbled up
in
that area. So the short answer is no, because football is king, and I think that the Hornets would have to be an Eastern Conference contender.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Conference championship contender for them to overcome the Panthers, just because the Panthers have 2 Super Bowl appearances. They have a fan base, no wins, but they've been there. They have a fan base that's very, very passionate.
That's true.
And I just, more so than I see more attention to the Hornets, which I love, but it's not nearly what I see with the Panthers. And so I don't think so. Not in 2 years.
Gotcha. So finally, look, I want to say this. We need to get Vashti credential with the Hornets.
Yes.
So
I'm starting to get on somebody's nerve now. I'm trying to tell you.
I'm telling you, like, we need to get her credential.
I agree.
We need to get under construction credential.
Yep. I agree.
We need some riders on staff. Look, we're gonna ride this LaMelo Ball train till the wheels fall off.
But the thing is, the Hornet, to me, and I've been saying this for years, the Hornets coverage really sucks. It sucks. And I don't know what they're doing with that communications department. They're really trying. I see that their content is better than it was last year, because last year was terrible. It's a step above, but it still is corny. And they don't have the people covering, like the Hornets are a young, swaggy team. Yeah. They need people other than Rick Bonnell covering the Hornets. Yeah. Like, he's been covering the Hornets for 1,000 years. Let some of these younger people come in and cover the team from a different aspect. Yeah, and I don't understand why they're so short-sighted in seeing that. But I'm working on the Hornets to get on their nerves. Me and Fred about to be friends. I'm telling you.
Man, look. You got LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, PJ, Terry Rozier, Devontae. I'm like, you need somebody like, I hate to say this, somebody like you, like you or somebody who grew up with hip-hop culture, who can relate, who can have like different quotes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a process. It's a process.
This is not San Antonio. Like this is Charlotte. Like even the Spurs, and I'm talking about market size. Market sizes. But Charlotte is a much bigger market than San Antonio. But from an NBA standpoint, I think that the people kind of look at them equally. But San Antonio's boring. It's been boring. Yep. Charlotte literally is not a boring team. Like, give these guys something.
Fun,
anything. Like something. And it's not just LaMelo Ball either. It's the whole team. And I look at their social media and they pretty cool guys. Like, they don't seem like they lame. Right. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was good on the court, but he was boring off of it. These aren't a bunch of Tim Duncans. These are dudes like I've seen them out. Like I went to a sneaker store one time. They cool guys. Yeah. Guys, give these guys the coverage that they deserve, so that then they'll start being seen on a national stage. It starts locally, and these people who are doing the Hornets are short-sighted in that. They need to give young Black outlets under construction, Carolina Bliz. Give a. We're not gonna hurt y'all. We can only amplify your product even more. That's just what it is.
That's just what it is. Oh, Candace, I got to say something about this. Vashti be buying new shoes, and she's the personification of Black wealth.
Okay. On the tote fours, I definitely was during the podcast. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and try. I didn't get it.
See, I know what I'm talking about.
I see.
So. Where can people find you? Like, I just want you to plug your social media, plug your website and everything.
Of social media at Keep Blitzing on Twitter. I also have a personal page. I don't do too much with it, but if you want to follow it, it's Vashti Hurt. Instagram at Carolina Bliz. YouTube at Carolina Bliz. Facebook Carolina Bliz. Like literally, Google Carolina Bliz. You can follow all of those. All of what we do on those outlets. We are extremely social. I try to keep my ears to the streets and keep it true to the streets as well.
And your radio show, tell the people
about it's literally on right now. So I'm on with you guys, but the show is playing. But I post a replay of the show on my website, but every morning I don't know why I forget about Saturday mornings. Saturday at 10:30 on ESPN 7:30, we bring kind of the Carolina Bliz swag to the radio. That's another thing I'm working on, because there is no Black media, no Black radio hosts, and that needs to change. And so I'm gonna get on somebody else's nerves about that. So people, listen, Vashti Hurt has no problem with getting on your nerves.
She coming for y'all.
I'm coming. Guns drawn, guns ablazing.
And you forgot one more thing too.
What?
The other podcast with Sheena.
Oh, Quick Blitz. Now, see that one, I keeps it real raw on Quick Blitz. So
we know.
Sheena and I are basically, we are the only two Black women credentialed to cover the Panthers.
Nice.
We do a podcast together called Quick Blitz. It's on. We've partnered with the Riot Network in order to do that podcast, and so those drop every Thursday. Dang, Robbie, you. Thank you, because
look, I am all about promotion of Black businesses. You look, when you forget, I remember.
Appreciate that. appreciate
And I
it.
want to shout out Vashti for wearing what her cohort
You
1986 shirt today. All right.
Thanks, you guys. I appreciate getting it. I'm gonna have to
No
rock
problem.
it. You know I couldn't be on the show and not rock the gear. Come on, respect.
We appreciate it. We really do.
So, Candace, tell us what we have on next week.
Yeah, so upcoming, we have a master hairstylist, actually my hairstylist, Deshaun Spears. So he'll be on next week, just kind of talking about, hair, things you can do at home during COVID to kind of keep our hair together. We still can't be out in the streets like that. I know everybody want to go get their hair done, nails done, all that. But, we just want to make sure that people are still being safe while you're doing it, even if you've started to do it. And also, Rodney, so you want to tell people where they can find us?
Yes, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, TikTok, Twitter, Cohort 1986. I don't even know how to use TikTok. I just have it.
I don't know what's on there, y'all.
So, Vashti, we're going to give you like some parting shots. Do you have any quote or something that you want to say as we head out?
Yes, please say your quote. It's almost International Women's Day, and I absolutely love Vashti's quote about being a phenomenal woman.
What quote?
The quote you gave us. Well, I'll read it. I'll
read it, please, because I do so much. I forgot I gave y'all a quote.
Give me a second. I'm about to pull it up.
I sent it to you guys.
Yeah.
I'll be on there. I don't even know. I forgot about that.
Let me pull it up.
You passed by it.
Right here. Okay. Lifelong sports lover, self-proclaimed trash talker, part-time tomboy, and full-time woman.
That's it.
Hurt. Thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Guys, have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching Cohort 1986.
Bye, guys.